Well, hello there everyone. Here to show you the sleeping mode storytelling activity right here. As you see right here is I will hand you right here is a picture right here of this right here will be right here, example right here of me, and like I will be wrapped up in a blanket right here. But let's just say that if most of us have had that to where that we would be that if it's like if we get overly tired from working most of the evening, or if it was at night, if you were up late at night doing something that type of stuff, and then let's just say that if you were part of the night working, going through paperwork, that type of stuff, and just thinking about that once you find a comfortable spot to sleep at, then all of a sudden you just start dozing off to sleep. And I went ahead and drew some examples right here. You have right here is a desk, like a table right here, and then along with the lamp, and then the lamp it could also be like if you want to turn turn the lights off, and then have the lamp on for like a night light, something like that. And then you would also have like say a bookshelf right here on the other corner right here, on a say the right right or left, I guess it would be like the right further corner of the room. And then right here you have right here is a television set. And knowing about that, I went and drew this as like if it was like a flat screen TV or something. But anyway, but knowing about you would have this type of stuff inside our rooms, and knowing about that, if your bed was about right here, let's just say if this was the bed that I would be sleeping on, and knowing about like anybody that might say that that they would maybe prefer that maybe they have like what you call one of those double twin size beds, or maybe a queen or king size bed, something like that. But let's just say that this right here was my bed right here, and I didn't really think about like doing all that work about knowing about really is it a twin size bed or is it a king size bed, something like that. But let's just say this was right here was me right here, and knowing about that, if we were to think about maybe sleeping for how we sleep, if it's if we decide maybe if we were to sleep on in a tent, or if it was on a couch or something like that, or if it was in an actual bed, and knowing about that where we usually sleep whenever we don't feel very well, that if we're coming back home or somewhere from let's say from a long walk or something like that, or maybe from a gathering, or it could have been maybe from school or from work or something like that, that you were working hard at some point, and then you decide to go ahead and doze off to sleep, that type of stuff. And I can tell anybody here that whenever, especially whenever we nap at during the day, that if we're going to be napping, that knowing that for the most part is that during that you only plan on maybe sleeping for about maybe 3 hours, and then you wake up maybe a little later. It's known about that a lot of times to say with sleeping modes that knowing that a lot of times though that some that may say that like so far as it's like the symptoms to where maybe some doctors would probably say that if there's anything like such as sleep apnea, like for sleep apnea, to where that basically that it's like the I guess to say some, I guess if it's dermatologists that they, or like if it's any therapist, or that pediatricians, those type of doctors that do the study to where knowing about that, that if it's for like any sleep apnea type related, and knowing that that type of symptoms that more likely that could be related to like sleep apnea could be like what says you are here that whenever you stop breathing for a few seconds while you're sleeping, that type of stuff. And sometimes my symptoms, if I'm going to be working for a long time, like working for about maybe 5 hours, and then all of a sudden that I'm sure it's happened to a few people that if you get overly tired, and then that you're sitting at a desk or something like that, like that you're just sitting down and you just start dozing off to sleep, you got your head down or something like that, and you start dozing off to sleep. And knowing that a lot of times that for like sleep apnea, that they basically say that what do you kind of call a sleeping mode, to where that that you're kind of wrapped up in a blanket, kind of like this right here, and then all of a sudden that you're like, well, I was only going to be laying down for, if anything, maybe at least a half an hour to an hour, maybe 2 hours, and then yeah, it's like they say that that what do you kind of call it whenever your body that ways of knowing about really that if you are overly tired and then just thinking about we may say that like that's whenever that you may need to take vitamins or something like that just to get yourself some more strength or something like that, or maybe eat more nutritional stuff, that type of stuff. But let's just say that on average that let's just say that for a lot of our energy that it seems like that we continue to lose it, especially if we're taking any type of medication that may result to any type of any type of side effect, or if it's anything that's related to anything that is related to like nausea, besides not drowsiness, if it's going to be drowsiness or anything like that, it's like if it's like cold medicine or anything like that so far as drowsiness. But let's just say that this right here was me, if I were to be laying in bed and resting, and then all of a sudden it's like that try to time like all wrapped up in a blanket, and then I'm like well, that a couple times that you try to get up, and then it's like you're so comfortable laying in bed after it's like you say that a lot of times that the blanket, the way that you got the blanket kind of wrapped around you, it's almost like room temperature, to where it feels like kind of like a healing powers. Is basically that like your body's healing, that it could have been muscle aches, so it could have been maybe a backache that you had earlier, and then by the time you lay down, and then by the time the pain goes away, and then now your body could be doing something else, such as relieving something, or something like that. But other than that, I talk about here with like sleeping modes that talked about is like there's more likely a lot of sleeping modes, and basically that you say that well what do you kind of call the kind where that 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 you get up and then you start walking around doing stuff? It's like, well, besides sleepwalking. But other than that, let's just say that you have right here anybody that I talk about, like if you go in your room and actually sleep. If I were to be going in my room and actually, if I were to be resting, napping, and it could have been maybe a headache, and anybody say that, that's something that maybe some parents will probably say. They walk in there and find out that if I would have went into my room and fell asleep, or watch TV for a little bit, and like, oh, he looks so cute. But anyway, knowing about that. That anybody who thinks about that, anybody who looks so cute while they're sleeping, and like, like, don't mention it. But I can remember that a few of my teachers, said, it wasn't, like whenever I would raise my hand, that it says that was so cute for how you said that. But anyway, but let's just say that you have right here is, you have right there is an example right here of me if I were to be in bed resting, and let's just say wrapped up in my blanket, in the blanket, and then all of a sudden it's like that if you have an alarm clock that wakes you up, and then you click the snooze button and that type of stuff. But let's just say this right here was an example right here of me, and then if I would be like inside a bedroom, knowing about if we would be dreaming about having a bedroom to where that you have like a lot of times way that I like having it is like where I have a telephone. I have a telephone in the bedroom, and maybe one or two night lights, and then as well as a few other things that like some that some young boys, men will probably say that maybe a Sony PlayStation 3, like that back earlier that they didn't really have, like they had like the Sony PlayStation, you say the first one, but let's just say that any type of video game consoles or anything like that, or anything else, more likely that most teenage boys, young boys, and as well as adults, that they would like to have in their own rooms as well. But I can remember that one thing that I did have in my room, of course, was like a dresser, and then the other one was a television set. And some kids will probably say that I'm like, that maybe that they would like to have something like this right here, like a smartphone. And like you can pretty much take that anywhere with you, that type of stuff. But But anyway, knowing about, I'm like, that, yeah, that knowing that if you want to take something like that, for like, for school for show and tell, but anybody say that really don't take anything expensive either. But anyway, as long as it's presented, of course, for the class, that type of stuff. But let's just say that that for most of the part is like with sleeping modes, and a lot of times anybody say that a lot of times due to symptoms usually run from whenever if you're working real hard, or maybe that you're working real hard on the chores, or maybe at work, or maybe doing school stuff, that type of stuff, and then knowing about that, you wind up getting a headache later on. Let's just say if you come down with a headache, or maybe if it's the stomach through flu or anything like that, any type of flu or any type of virus, and the symptoms could be upset stomach, or maybe nausea, or maybe headache, or maybe if it's runny nose, that type of stuff. And then think about, like, you just the first thing you just want to think about is go and lay down for a while, that type, for about 2 or 3 hours, that type of stuff. And then knowing about that, I think about, that let's just say that the story were to say that you were invited to go to a pizza party, like, well, can't make it, I'm not feeling very well, Ashley, like, do you think that there's anything I would rather be doing other than going to a pizza party, or maybe any type of gathering, maybe singing songs or anything like that? But knowing about, like, let's just say if you came down with let's just say if you had a headache and then you want to rest or something like that, and knowing about, like, that anybody to say about, could you more likely be dreaming about having something in your room that more likely people would probably say that, hey, that's cool, inside your bedroom, that you got like a little night light, you say, of the moon right there, and then you may have like, I didn't draw any windows, but let's just say that anybody say that, at least almost every bedroom that you're going to have at least one window, but let's just say that you have right here is a window. I'll go ahead and draw like a small window right here, but you have right here is a window right here, and with this window, that it could be like contain like curtains or something like that, but you have right here is a window where you have a view from maybe if it's the backyard, or maybe the front yard, something like that, from where where the room was, but let's just say that the room, our rooms could more likely contain, like, you have right here is a flat screen TV. You have right here is this, like, a big screen TV right here, and just knowing about that I can tell anybody here that a lot of times that whenever I was young, that I have something in my bedroom to where that I wanted maybe a few of my friends and stuff, people like that, knowing about, like, hey, like, whenever I have them over, that sometimes it they would come into my bedroom, and I would hand you right here's example right here of a pool table, but I'm sure anybody say that, you would maybe, if your room's big enough, that you can go ahead and maybe, if you want to put like a pool table inside the bedroom or something like that, maybe something that, a lot of things that more likely that you'll probably say that, things that maybe you would like to maybe have in the front and backyard, but let's just say that in the bedroom that you would maybe like to have maybe a pool table and maybe a fireplace. Anybody probably say that, no, like, that if you had a fireplace in your own bedroom, and especially like those portable ones, and knowing about how safe that they need to be as well, but let's just say that a number of things that whenever I was young, there was a lot of things that of course I want to have in my own bedroom, besides the type of stuff that more likely that maybe we would like to see, such as that you have something in your bedroom just to help you relax, and if you came down with the flu virus, or if you were real tired, that's something that kept you, like anybody say that a lot of times you may see something like maybe posters, or maybe a stuffed animals, and then maybe like a little rocking chair, maybe a few books, a bookshelf full of books, stuff like that, and like the stuff that more likely you would see in the bedroom. And but let's just say that if this bedroom right here, it will be like saying that if you want to put something in the bedroom to where that you want to invite a few friends over and say that, hey, look what I have in my room, and you start talking to them about maybe a few things that that you got in your own bedroom, such as your own telephone. I'm sure they say kids will be kids. They're going to go ahead and say that the things that they have in their room, and they're going to go ahead and maybe say, if you want to come over to my house and show you my bedroom, and this is why I got my bed in my room, that they say that glow-in-the-dark shoes, or maybe if it's a real cool looking bed backboard or something like that, or maybe a comic book, something like that, knowing about that whenever you're home in your own bedroom, that maybe that you want to go ahead and buy something, or maybe you earn something be proud of, to keep in your bedroom. And some people that may say that one of those things possibly could be a television set. And I can tell anybody here that knowing about with most television sets, that that besides other than maybe I say that that maybe you'd like to have a pool table as well, but let's just say that like besides a bathroom, anybody say that if you had access to your own bathroom, and for sure knowing about that with most of the time it's like with the bathrooms that I can go ahead and draw right here. Example, I might knowing about if you have right here is a bathroom right here. Anybody who had their own bathroom, especially in their own bedroom, and that sounds more like it's a master bedroom. You can kind of call it that, but it's not really. But knowing about let's say you had right here, you had access to like a bathroom, a bathtub and bathroom and sink all right here. And I know with most homes, and I don't know about all of them, but maybe some of them that more likely say that inside of I went ahead and drew drew the door would only come at about right here. But let's just say that if most of in our bedrooms, that more likely that we would have it to where we would have access to our a bathroom, to where we would have like a full bathroom right here, to where you had a bathtub and then a sink, and then maybe a place to put your dirty towels or something like that. And knowing about whenever if you're sick and trying to get well or something, they say that that you had to take a few trips to the bathroom, that type of stuff. But let's just say that some kids, if they are dreaming about having their own bathroom, or maybe having, like a little study area. I went ahead and drew this right here. It's like two kids right here, a boy and a girl. If they had like a study room, if it was related to class reasons, or like a library, they had like a little study area right here. But for the most part, it's knowing about that. For conditions related to like sleep apnea, knowing about that usually they had the doctor look, but knowing about that from what the doctor says, that they say that for like a research for like understanding about sleep apnea, that basically that knowing that it's if you have weird dreams at times, or maybe that if you're that usually means that do you think that maybe snoring has anything to do with maybe sleep apnea? Well, not really. I'm like knowing that in weird dreams, and maybe that that sometimes it's hard to get up, after you've been asleep for about maybe 3 or 4 hours, and sometimes it's hard to get up. But more likely that they say that results for like knowing about if it's sleep apnea, knowing that if you're sleeping, and basically anybody say that that it's basically some that may say, which I don't know if it's true or not, but some that may say that it basically feels like that you go into another world, like almost like that you feel like you stop breathing for a few seconds, and some people say that it feels almost like that you kind of go into another world, which calls if some people would probably say that, not to exaggerate, but on your hand too, it feels like that you die and you come back or something like that. But let's just say that on average though, that with some interesting things about some real interesting things about understanding about sleeping modes, is knowing about the interesting things that happen for what we see and what we hear. It's like anybody say that it feels like a lot like a dream, because it seems quite real, just like a dream, that type of stuff. But let's say that on average though, that the things that more likely that we could be dreaming about. And then such as if it could maybe be like sleep apnea or anything like that, is knowing about that, you know, you were dreaming and all of a sudden that you were dreaming about something and you wake up and then find out that you know, you were dreaming about this or that, and you dreaming about being in class and then find out that that's something, you know, that's something that never happened. You know, you dreamed about proposing to somebody, you dreamed about asking somebody, you know, to go to lunch with them, something like that. But on the other hand, and knowing about that like you know, understanding about sleeping modes is that basically that they more likely would say though that with you know, sleeping modes that knowing about whenever your body, you know, gets to be too tired, and it could not be even be workouts, you know, that they say that if you've read a book, you know, for quite some time, you know, let's just say if you were reading a book for about maybe an hour or two, maybe 3 or 4 hours, and they usually say it's, you know, you need to take breaks at times too. But let's just say that that if you were really reading a book for a couple of hours and maybe watching TV, you know, doing studies, you know, that type of stuff, and they may say that, well, you know, that really don't really result in, you know, too much sleep apnea, but basically that knowing about that your body's trying to get caught up on rest, and it also could be is like if your body may come down with something to where it could be maybe a virus or an infection or something like that. Is knowing that that you like, you know, yeah, that I'm talking about that whenever I get wrapped up in a blanket and then lay down for a few hours and then I wake up and I doze off again, and I wake up again and doze off again, you know, that type of stuff. And sometimes it's hard to get up, and then whenever you are up, and then sometimes it's hard to get settled down. So it's like that type of stuff. But so far as understanding about the sleeping mode stories, that I can tell anybody here that, you know, a couple of times that it was true, knowing about while I was sleeping, that there could have been a number of things that were going on that maybe around the house, and knowing about if it's upgrades or something I missed, you know, I'm like the way I think about though is like if while I was sleeping, that maybe that there was a concert that was going on, or maybe a gathering, and it's like that, hey, you know, that didn't you write that down on your schedule that this gathering or this group or this this event was going on, that you know, like on a weekend, maybe like on a Saturday or Sunday or something like that. Is that, you know, hey, you missed it, you said you were going to come, you know, that type of stuff. But let's just say that knowing about knowing about, you know, this you know, this kind of reminds me of that movie, you know, Captain America. But let's just say that knowing about with sleeping modes though is that you know, there may be a few stories about whenever we sleep and then whenever we wake up, and knowing about, we keep thinking about, you know, if we miss something, you know, if it was we didn't get up on time, you know, to watch there was a TV show that came on at a certain time, you know, there was you know, we were supposed to be somewhere at a certain time, you know, that type of stuff. We were supposed to do something at a certain time, you know, we were supposed to complete, you know, work on something at a certain time, that type of stuff. But it's like, you say, what do you call that, like, you know, sleeping on a job. But let's just say that you have right here is an example right here of me, and like anybody say that, yeah, well, you talk a lot. Yeah, that's one thing about like talking about. I'm like, yeah, whenever you talk too much, it's sometimes people want to go ahead and doze off to sleep too. But you know, anything important, no. But on your hand, and knowing about that, really, that I can tell anybody here that really, you know, does sleep improve brain power? And that's one thing, of course, that I want to mention also about if we're going to be in the classroom. There's a lot of times the sleeping improve brain power, and on your hand, that knowing about that with most sleeping modes is knowing about that you know, for whenever you sleep, that sometimes whenever you do sleep for quite a long time and then you wake up with a headache, you know, we kind of call that. But let's just say that a lot of times though, that, you know, if we were to be in our bedrooms right here, and just knowing about that, you know, you have people that come into the bedroom and there's a book that they kind of look at, and then that, you know, it's like, you know, hey, you know, like a lot of people would more likely like to have a phone. You know, they would like to have a phone in their own bedroom, or maybe in their bedroom that you got like some nice carpeting right there. And then that, you know, if you say that, yeah, maybe a pool table, or like you got like a little pool, a place in the corner where you can maybe play a little bit of pool, or maybe a ping pong table or something like that. Everybody said, oh, there ain't enough room for all that. But let's just say that, especially like in the closet, and you say that, yeah, a lot of things I remember having in my own bedroom besides the TV was like a train set. If most of us, whenever you were young kids, boys and girls, that maybe they would like to have a train set. They had like a train set, inside, or maybe like a workout area, or it could have been, maybe like a bookshelf, number of things that more likely that we may have seen in the bedroom. But then one of those things that more likely to where that they say that kids more likely say that they bought it maybe at the store, they bought it at the gift shop, they bought some clothes or something like that, that they wanted to bring a few friends over, to kind of show them, that, if it was a toy, I'm like, if they would have gotten a new toy, a cool looking calculator, that they would have it in their rooms, and knowing that they would like, even kids up there at the school would probably say that, talking about that, they got a pool table, they got their own bathroom, that type of stuff. So it's like knowing about, kids or whoever that more likely could probably be saying about that, that knowing about really, but whenever you bring people into our bedrooms, as knowing about could also be related to like attention. And a lot of times you say that, well, do I have to call the doctor or the nurse and have them come over and look you up and making sure that that you don't have a high fever or something like that. That you don't have a high fever, and knowing about, I'm like, in case of kids ever wonder about, is like, what are the temperatures between, if it's the temperatures for like if it was a high fever, is knowing about a lot of times that 97 point, I think 97.8 or something like that. That 97.8 usually a lot of times will be the normal temperature, and then let's just say that if the temperature read 100.2, something like that, then they usually say that that's the time to call the doctor or the nurse, just to find out. I'm like, that's a high temperature, and basically that means that that it's time to take your medicine, that type of stuff, and it's to contain the rest. Or if it's like they say, it's like if you would need to more likely eat something such as maybe a bowl of soup or something like that, munch on crackers, that type of stuff. But knowing about that, the types of attention, knowing about, I'm like, that if you did get sick with something, and then you'll wind up having to rest for maybe a couple of days, something like maybe for about a week. Anybody would say that you got homework to do, and like, well, like, you still do your homework, while you're relaxing at home, and taking it easy. Anybody say that, especially if anybody has ever experienced having the chicken pox before. The chicken pox, or if it could have been maybe the stomach flu or anything like that, if you were out of school for about maybe a week, and then just thinking about that, being out sick is not the same thing as being on vacation too. So it's like whenever you're on vacation, it seems like anybody say that, well, you didn't go anywhere, you just stayed at home, that type of stuff. But let's just say that knowing about, really, do we go anywhere while we're sleeping? We may be dreaming about something. Anybody say that, you could be dreaming about going to the library with a friend. You could be dreaming about going to the coffee shop. You could be dreaming about going to the beach or somewhere like that. And then the next thing you know, it's like you wake up and thinking about that. You may dream about it, but is it real? Like, how do you know exactly about if the dream's real or not? And just talking about, I'm like, that between dreams and nightmares, and knowing about that, if it's thoughts or anything like that. But anybody say that knowing about, there's maybe a lot of things that more likely that cannot be explained, such as about if we're dreaming about something, dreaming about going to a new home, a home that contains a nice fireplace, brick red, that type of stuff, and maybe a nursery, baby's nursery or something like that. Or we could be having these weird dreams, such as that there's a gorilla in the backyard. I'm like, I don't know if anybody here has ever dreamed about, I'm like, that like there's a gorilla or a chimpanzee, that there's a monster in the backyard or something like that, hiding behind the trees, something like that. I don't know if any kids have ever dreamed about stuff like that. But let's just say that for the most part, is knowing about with most dreams. So if they're bad, good or bad dreams, is knowing that we may want to have somebody to talk to about them as well. And one of those could be, it's like that. Besides the game, like Bart's Nightmare, but let's just say that one of those dreams could be about being teased at school, and a lot of times they say that that's typical, that the kids will be picking on other kids, and something the most embarrassing part of life, knowing about that is that so far as like when they become that situation to where that you feel real embarrassed about something. Let's just say that somebody says that that he wind up whizzing in his pants. It's like you wind up having an accident in your pants, or you spill something on your shirt, that type of stuff. And that knowing about that any type of incidents that happen, and knowing about, oh, this is a nightmare. This cannot be happening. But on the other hand, knowing about ways of how to handle those situations, especially. But let's just say that you have right here is knowing about that. I can tell anybody here that if this would be like example of my bedroom, and knowing about that the type of attention that maybe you want to have while you're in your bedroom, if you're sick with something, or maybe if it was a headache. And a lot of times you say that a lot of times if it's headache, or if it was anything like vomiting or any other type of symptoms, and knowing about that you have people in your room and they give you attention, they come and see you, that type of stuff, and knowing about knowing that hey, that anything else that more likely you would rather be doing, just make sure that he's got a bathroom to use. Make sure that he's got a bathroom to use, and making sure that he's got plenty to eat, and then taking his medicine, that type of stuff. But on the head and knowing about, I'm like, whenever I was young, I can probably tell anybody here that with most kids, whenever they're 15, back in the early 1999, I can remember, like, I wanted a computer in my own room. I'm like, anybody say that, between a glow-in-the-dark Star Wars poster and maybe a computer, that more likely that I'm like, a stereo. I'm like, anybody say that, if you're going to have a stereo or a boombox in your bedroom, but let's just say that if it was a computer, and like talking about, I'm like, and they find out about that, they're going to want to go into your bedroom, and they're going to probably say that, hey, you don't mind if I go ahead and get on your computer for a few minutes, like this is my room, not yours, well, you can share it, can't you? But on your hand, if it's anything that maybe the grandparents made, such as if it's maybe a homemade rug or anything like that, if it was a floor mat or anything like that, you name it, and knowing about that they probably say that a number of things that more likely that could be going on, and like, well, while you're sleeping, that you say that while you were sleeping, that somebody looked at you, take a picture of you while you were sleeping, and thinking about, you are so cute. You look so cute. You laying there like that, all cuddled up like a little baby. Like, don't mention it. Like, you look so cute right there, just snarling away, just like a little baby. But like talking about, like, and get away. But anyway, but just knowing about that, the type of sleeping modes for the sleeping mode stories, knowing about that if we're going to have like an alarm clock that's going to wake us up, but knowing about, I'm like, the number of things that more likely we could be dreaming about, and knowing about, really, not too many, hardly anybody dreams about being sick, but let's just say that the things that more likely that there may be at least one thing that maybe we enjoy about being sick, while we're in our bedrooms, is knowing about, that it could have maybe been food poisoning or something like that, and just thinking about that, from how, for what we had to do, everybody say that, well, there's not really too much really you can really do for fun, because, I can tell anybody here that, especially from the 2 years in a row, especially on my birthday, I can remember I had gotten sick, and I wanted to have a few friends over, that type of stuff. I couldn't do it because I had gotten sick with something, that type of stuff. And, I can have no birthday cake, not too much of that. So, I remember I had birthday cake after a while, but on the other hand, knowing about what the type of sleeping modes is, knowing about that they say that usually that that like for understanding about sleep apnea or anything like that is knowing about that ways that see a doctor, that that more likely they say that that it's possible that your body's trying to get caught up on rest, and knowing that if it's like that you sleep one time, if you sleep for only 3 hours one day, and then the next day that you maybe sleep for 5 hours, and that's usually that they say your body's trying to get caught up on rest, and just knowing about that if you're going to be up doing stuff, and you usually say that sometimes that happens to where you can't get a full 8 hours of sleep. And sometimes you're only allowed to get 3 hours of sleep because of the fact about there's some chores that kept you busy for quite a while. Maybe kids around the house. Most parents, if they say the kids kept them busy, and then maybe doing yard work, or maybe working on an assignment, working on the car, that kind of kept you busy too. But what I had known about is that they say that the type of stuff and knowing about to be concerned about too. But on the other hand too is knowing about it's like we eat healthy, and see the doctor on occasions, that type of stuff, and just thinking about like really is like eat, sleep, and do well, and knowing about say for the sleeping mode story kind of activity.